Hey folks, it's KP Burke. This week's American Loser episode is a classic case of no good deed going unpunished. It involves a crime, the Mormons, a disappearance, a vanishing, and more Mormons. I can't wait to tell you guys the story of Jean Baptiste here on American Loser.
Fill her up.
You're listening to the Gas Digital Network.
On the edge they take the throne, built on bones of those unknown. Counted first, never last, still erased from the past. I am an American loser. No one remembers my name. No legacy and no future. One step behind in the game.
All right, folks. We are back. It's another episode of American Loser. We're here at Gas Digital Network. Use promo code KP, it's promo code Loser for $1 off a month. Get to enjoy all the insane shows over here. Zach's Morning Zoo, High Society Radio, The Thing Is, and of course the legendary Legion of Skanks. Mike Harrington has disappeared, folks. We don't know where he is. We sent him to an island somewhere in the Great Salt Lake, and we can't find him. All right, he was just going to hang out for 2 weeks. He was punished for something he did wrong on the show. We don't know where he is. We have some evidence here, and it reminded me of something. It was a little bit too close. A little bit too close to this story from American history we're about to dive into. But real quick, we have people filling in for Harrington because his disappearance has rocked all of us here at Gas Digital. Poor Alex is left without a husband and a father for her child, right? He's supposed to be providing. He's not doing that, all right? I got Jorge sitting here working in the booth, right? He's just making up for, he's trying to pick up the slack, folks, all right? We're all trying to help out. And then, of course, the Dominator here behind the ones and twos. Dominator, by the way, is a Mormon for this week's story, okay? He's, what we do is... we can't exactly be progressive on this show. We try to. We try to be very inclusive. We want to have more people on. But I realize they don't see Dom, so I can just change his ethnicity every episode. And then we're like, yes, see, we do employ this week, specific, a member of the Church of Latter-day Saints. So also, Loser Devotees, you guys might remember her voice. You heard her a little bit here. She's got a great voice, and she's one of my great friends. She's got a hell of a resume, folks, too. She is a stand-up comic. She is also currently still serving as, I think, a captain?
Whoa. Why don't you bump that up a little?
Oh, never mind. A captain. So she's a chief in the United States Navy here, folks. No, I'm teasing. My friend Linette Palladino, whose career I cannot keep up with in terms of the military.
I'm a major.
You're a major?
I'm a major.
That's right. More like a major hottie, folks, right?
Woo!
It's Linette Palladino. She's back in studio. Not once, but twice, right? So it's MILF with a gold star and an epaulette, right? That's because you have...
V for Valor and destroyed vagina.
Right on. It's well, I'll tell you what. I appreciate everything you do for our country. Also, making more Americans is part of that. So I do respect that one here. And you've been on the show a bunch. You used to come down to our studio in Eatontown. A little easier commute this time, I think, right?
I don't know, because I followed what Google Maps told me to do, which sent me to evidently the P.O. box, and then it was another 5 blocks after that.
It's that only happened to me once, and it was when I was like, oh, I'm 15 minutes early, and that turned into 20 minutes late. So that's New York City for you, baby.
Well, I think it was more Google fucking up.
Google's not your friend. That's what we've learned on this show here. But we don't want to talk too much about the technocrats out there. We don't know because the channel's finally monetized, folks. I'm pretty excited about this one. I know I sent it to you beforehand here. Linette knows a ton about American history. She's very fun to talk to. Also, we just had a killer weekend at the Savage Wonder Theater in Beacon, New York. You hooked me up with that gig. What awesome people they are.
Yeah.
You go ahead and plug them if you want to do anything. And then also tell people where they can follow you. Linette, very funny comic. Please go check her out, folks.
Yeah, if you guys are in the Hudson Valley area or if you're just looking to go away for a weekend, I highly recommend Beacon. Super cute little town right on the Hudson River. And Savage Wonder is a new art center that's open there. It's, of course, an old bank.
You did show me the vault upstairs. It looked like it looked like Al Capone was about to bust in with a Tommy gun and start knocking heads. So
the dream is to hopefully move upstairs, have all the shows like in the bank space. But until then, we're downstairs. But they've outfitted the basement into like a full gallery. There's a wine cellar, and then of course the parlor room, which is where our shows were. It was chef's kiss.
It was awesome. It was good to work a full weekend, too, where you get a Friday, a Saturday, and a Sunday, and no double-up shows. So you don't have to be like, oh, that was a great show. Now let's ruin it with the late show Saturday. So, also, their dream is to move upstairs. So is mine, folks. That's why when you subscribe to Gas Digital, we ask that you please use promo code LOSER. That's part of how I keep things running over here. And then also, I don't want to go too crazy, but we did have a couple of people popping up as sponsors for us, which is pretty great. Very excited about that. We're working with veteran-owned brands. That's why I wanted to get the cheap plug in for Savage Wonder Theater. They got a ton of weird, cool stuff going on.
And all their brands are also veteran-owned. So, like, if you order a cup of coffee, it's coming from a veteran-owned bean roastery. All the wines that are domestic, like United States wines, come from veteran-owned vineyards.
I feel like half the veterans, when they get out, go into their own sort of entrepreneurial job. And then the other half are homeless and actively asking me for money on my way into the studio. So that's just my 2 cents on that issue. But.
You know, I thought the same thing, actually, after that weekend at Savage Wonder. I was like, wow, the military really knows how to, like, attract the best and brightest. And if it doesn't destroy them, like, you go on to great things.
Yes, there's...
it's just that huge if.
Yeah, it's that middle section, that little gap in there. That one's a little bit tough here. Question for you. I know you've gotten to go all over the place with the United States military. Have you ever spent any time out in Utah?
Not for the Army, for skiing.
You went skiing out in Utah?
Yeah.
All right. Is it because I met a couple of guys in the military that were from Utah. This week's story takes place in Utah, folks. It's not some sort of a weird preamble here. I have a plan for everything I'm saying, okay? But my experience with a couple of people I knew from Utah was very nice, very polite, little dorky. I wouldn't put the cool vibe on them. But then the one kid was like, he looked like he should have been a male model instead, but he just didn't have confidence. Or they don't encourage that in the community that he was a member of, which is the Church of Latter-day Saints, folks. Which, again, Dom, devout member of. If you guys notice, sometimes you can't see him, but sometimes when we have to say something that would go against that religion, he closes his eyes and puts his fingers in his ears. So it's just, he's steadfast to it, steadfast. He keeps trying to convert Jorge. All right, it's not working. But good news, Chris from Brooklyn, very open to it, he said. He texted me the other day. He's been reading a lot about Joseph Smith, and he finds him very interesting, Dom. So your message is, you as a disciple are spreading your message, sir.
That makes me very happy.
I'm glad about that one, buddy. The Utah skiing sounds awesome. I never could figure out skiing. That wasn't going to be for me. While you were out there, was it all tourists in Utah, or you get to meet some natives? Because the natives are interesting, because I had a very wrong idea about Utah. I found out reading the story.
No, you get to interact with the locals. The Mormon church is a huge influence out there. And so, like, when you go and order a drink, you can only order a drink at a time.
Right on.
You can't be like, this waiter might take a while to come back, so let me order a second drink. No. You can't have one on deck.
During my booze hound days, my move for that was if I was at a wedding, I was like, I'm going to do a beer. I'll do a shot while I'm waiting, and then my girl wants a thing of wine, and then it was just all for me. I was just a train wreck. I didn't want to go back online.
Yeah.
Oh, my date left. Crazy. I don't know what to do with that one.
Everything is an exact pour. Like they're out there using jiggers.
It's easy. Oh, never mind. We're on Gas Digital. You're good. So these guys are trippy. Chime in whenever you want here. We're just talking the story. I sent you the story a couple of days ago, and I know you understand the show, so we're going to have fun on this one, because this story, what I look for in American Loser is I look for somebody. We have different categories. We have like the scumbag category, which I'm going to say today's story, this guy's a scumbag. Then we have like kind of a weird supernatural thing. Again, this guy fits that part. We like some criminals right on here, and then we also like weird stuff that we don't know from history. And this had everything. This was probably could have been 3 different movies. That's kind of how I look at it. I watch movies, and I use that to try to explain history to people. And there are some people very angry with me in the comment section right now on the Jersey Devil one that I did. They're saying that I've ruined the Jersey Devil for them, and I'm telling the false story. It's because it's an urban legend. There's like 9 different versions. That's why. But this one I thought was great. We are talking today about a fellow by the name of Jean Baptiste. Now, there's no hatred in your heart, Linette. I've known you well enough. You hear Jean Baptiste, and what are you picturing?
Oh, blonde-haired, blue-eyed, Viking-type German.
Really?
No, of course not. Super French.
Super French, right on. Okay, see, anybody I told this story to, they're like, oh, so this dude's from Haiti? Oh, man. Although Jean Baptiste, if you paint him as Haitian, the story is even a little bit funnier here. But this story does have it. It really does have it all. I'm not exaggerating. Every now and then I hit a weird one, and I think I'm prepared for it, and I think I'm kind of zoned in on it. And then you unpack the story. We tell it backwards on the show here, and we found a bunch of weird stuff that leads up to this. So there's really no concrete answers to the story. So once again, it's a little bit of an urban legend, but we're going to tell the true story portion that led up to this, and then I want you guys to tell me in the comment section here what you guys think about this one. Also, as per usual, how are my moobs looking? I'm working on myself, folks. All right, if we got decent moob action, let me know in the comment section here. But this story is a damn good one, and it is a mystery. All right, but we're going to try to give you at least some sort of context for it. My goal today is to tell you as much as we can prove, and then let you guys decide what you think is the fate of this week's American loser, Mr. Jean Baptiste. So the story doesn't really involve him in the very beginning. So that's when I thought it was going to be a good loser one, because Linette was a guest on our episode about Patton. And that was, how do you figure out how to contextualize that guy's life into one podcast episode? I don't have Joe Rogan run times. I can't really cover. So we had to do it over 2 parts. And if you also remember, I love him to death, but the Big Kahuna no-showed, and we had bad audio on the one. And you were so nice, you came back and did a whole another ride back down to Eatontown. And, you suffered through, the gang warfare going on in that town. And you came back, and it will always have a place in my heart because you came back for that one. So this one we're going to get in one take, folks. All right, Gas Digital now, a little bit more professional, making things happen. Lynette has a spot at West Side Comedy Club she's got to get to later, so we're going to move on with this one. Also, Jorge has to then go, he has to feed Harrington's baby while Harrington is missing. So hopefully we can find Harrington. If you guys have seen Mike Harrington on the street, let me know, okay? Because he's actively missing, and we're looking for him. There's a lot of questions, okay? A lot of questions. Some suspect foul play. Almost all of them include Mike Figgs. So we'll see what happens. This story does involve some famous names, some very weird random facts, and also something I wasn't even ready to kind of go into here. So first off, Linette, when you hear the term grave robbing, what pops into your head? There's no wrong answers.
Yeah, I mean, just digging up dead bodies for gold and fillings, and
I hear it, and I hear it like an old-time context for it, right?
Yeah.
And, well, I hear grave robbing, and then I don't know about you guys in the booth, but when I hear grave robbing, I always assume, I think of, was it Burke and Hare, were the famous ones in England? They would dig up bodies, and then they would sell them to scientists so they could then work. So science came from, you talk about ethics and science and stuff like that. It's very weird how this one works. But I think it was Burke and Hare would dig up bodies and sell them to scientific institutes. And then the institutes would do autopsies. So we've learned so much because of this terrible crime. So it's a weird kind of ebb and flow thing. But it doesn't make much sense to me here. Grave robbing goes back as far as burials do, essentially. This can go all the way back to caveman stuff, where you're like, hey, we buried so-and-so with that really expensive thing, and I want it. So what are you going to do? There's no one there. There's no ethics at the time. You dig up the body and you take the thing, or don't bury him with it at all. Split up, everybody's thing. Now we have wills and, all sorts of legal matters that get involved with this one here. But also, I didn't know this. It seems to be that grave robbing is something that brings all cultures together, because there's documented cases of it in almost every civilized culture, and probably the uncivilized ones too. But it's a little bit of a have and have not argument, but it does show a certain air of desperation. Being a grave robber is not a good thing. It's not a noble thing. Now, if this doesn't make sense, this is how I'm trying to spin it. Grave robbing is seen as someone attempting to rob you from your final resting place of something that you were buried with, or something that you have on you that might have value to them, and then profiting off of whatever that is that they're taking out of your grave. If you guys want to know about, it's one of the greatest bits in stand-up comedy history, but Sam Kinison's bit about what happens from beyond the grave. I can't even say the name of it on this show because it's that good of a bit. But search Sam Kinison. I think it was on the Have You Seen Me Lately album. But it holds up. It stands the test of time. It's that funny. I've always heard that tragedy plus time equals comedy. You've heard that one before?
Yes.
Right. Do you believe in that?
Yes. I'm sure some people would wait longer than the average comic before they poke jokes, but we being the savages that we are like, 5 minutes is good, no?
But yeah, 5 minutes, or like, oh, I saw someone else tweet about it, so obviously this is open season. I think that's a fair answer. Time is actually what is the thing that separates grave robbing from archaeology. How are they not the same thing? So if let's say I pass away, let's say Mike Harrington's gone, folks. Let's say he's not coming back, and we find him, right? We do a burial for him, but he's buried with an iPad that has all of my notes on for this show, and I need to do it. So now I'm grave robbing, because as soon as that boy goes in the ground at night, I'm going to show up with my shovel and my pick, and I'm going to dig through, and I'm going to gently kiss Mike Harrington's forehead and say goodbye to my friend, right? But I'm going to take my iPad back. That's grave robbing. Now, if we wait 30 years after that and then I go get it back, now he's a time capsule, right? So then he would, in theory, just become a time capsule. But if we wait 300 years and they pull this out, they can say, oh, look, this prophet of the gas digital cult, renowned Saint Michael Harrington, he held with him beyond the grave to keep safe for eternity a sacred talisman that had all of K.P. Burke's dumb notes on it. So now that's archaeology. So it's just time that lets you get away with murder, essentially. This one tripped me out a little bit too here. We do it today, I'm a criminal. I do it 30 years from now, I'm a scientist, right? There's no way to spin what this guy did today that we're about to get into. He's just a scumbag, folks. It's pure loser fodder, just a dirtbag. Like all sciences, archaeology they have to apply the scientific method, and they have to have some sort of ethics. Off the top of your head, you took science course. You're actually very well educated too, so it's
yeah, but it's been a minute since I've done anything sciencey.
But you took at least an ethics course in college, I would imagine.
Oh,
right?
yeah. No, Fordham doesn't fuck around.
That's Fordham, super local girl. All right, Linette is the Jersey version of what we all aspire to be. She gets to come into the city, get a great education, gives back to the country by serving our country, folks. And then also now lives here telling jokes. Actually, you're a failure. I just realized it. All that education, all the stuff you've done, and now you're going to go tell jokes?
Yeah.
Man.
It's because my dad died. Thanks for bringing it up.
How long's he been dead? Because if we dig him up and there's something cool in there, that's...
Oh, no, I'm not that stupid. I didn't bury him with anything. Unless you want his, Guido blazer with his mock neck turtleneck sweater.
Ooh.
I left a pinky ring on him.
Now, the potential is that next week we could be covering something that would be of Italian origin. And obviously for that episode, Dom will be Italian. So in a week, if Dom wants that, at least we preface it here. Handshake agreement on that one.
He is buried in Scotch Plains at Hillside Cemetery.
Oh, right on. Okay.
Plot D3.
That's right. Folks, we're going to do a meetup group session for loser devotees. Meet there. Again, last name Palladino.
Huge head mount. The last time I was there, my dog took a shit on his grave.
Jeez.
Yeah, so you want to talk about a savage.
Yeah, and this was the bulldog?
No, this was his dog that when he died, I took in. That's...
I want to say there's something beautiful in that, but I'm not sure. All right, so the dog pooped on the grave. I want to unpack that more, but at the same time,
I know we only have so much time.
No, yeah, this is what typically this is how our phone conversations go. Anyway, is I don't ever get to the thing I'm actually talking to you about. We talk about 10 other things. I have a couple of famous examples of grave robbing that went throughout history here. Because again, I hear grave robber, I think. Like I said, Burke and Hare, early England, everything like that, scientific revolution and everything going on here. And then at the same time, I think about archaeology. My head immediately, because of whether it be conditioning or whatever, always goes back to King Tut. So the Egyptians were so fearful of grave robbing, I found this out. There are people that believe that we haven't found King Tut's actual tomb yet because they think it was a decoy one, because the Egyptians were super afraid of death. So it was, if we build this decoy one, then they'll think they got the treasure, but the real stuff is actually still hidden somewhere in the pyramids. So Egypt's wild. They were pretty awesome. They're a fun read, I'll put it that way. But I got a couple famous examples. A couple play a little close to the nose, and one of them is still actively scaring me here. Charlie Chaplin, the other little mustached guy, he had his eternal rest disrupted by grave robbers who stole his body and held it ransom. Yeah, American icon, Charlie Chaplin, had his body held hostage. They dug up his body, and then they contacted his wife and asked for a certain amount of money. And his wife goes, "Well, I'm not paying you to get my dead husband's body back, so have fun with have fun with a dead body of an American icon."
She's like, "Joke's on you, that bastard made me have 1,000,000 kids and then was off making the silence."
It's a creepy one, right? I love my girl Carly. I love her to death. I would like to think that if my body was dug up and held for ransom, post-mortem obviously here, that she would sit there and be like, good luck with that, okay? And then, probably also reach into his pockets because I probably owed her $40. I think it's, she's a good chick. But yeah, eventually the body does get recovered and no ransom money is paid. Charlie Chaplin's wife, she wasn't going to have it. She stayed silent on the issue. Here's the one that scared the shit out of me. I don't want to give Dom or Jorge any nightmares on this one, but this one tripped me out. Dom, did you see the new Nosferatu, the one that Robert Eggers did?
I did not know. I heard about it, but I never
it's a lot of boobs. That's what I was told. Everybody said a lot of boobs. I went and saw it. Yeah, did you see this movie or no?
No, I was just nicing the boobs.
Right on. It was good. It holds up to the original. Nosferatu obviously is the Dracula story, but they had to rebrand a couple of things because they couldn't get the life rights from Bram Stoker's family. Another wife that was a little bit of an old ball and chain, if you will, about hanging on to her husband's legacy. But the director of the first Nosferatu, which this movie is free on Amazon, I think it's public domain, comes from the 1920s. It's that classic, very creepy-looking Count Orlok guy. The director, I'm going to slaughter this pronunciation. I know I have some listeners over in Germany. Tell me if I got this wrong. F.W. Murnau, or Murnau, was the German filmmaker responsible for the original Nosferatu. He dies in a car accident in 1931, which is something not related to, but very kind of seemingly noteworthy here. He was very good friends with Greta Garbo. You know who she was?
Yes.
She was a little bit of a smoke show, right, for her day. Very sultry-looking lady, classic kind of, whenever like Sydney Sweeney or somebody like that is doing like an old Hollywood style, they're usually borrowing a style from her. But Greta Garbo had been a good friend of the director. I think she was Swedish and he was German. She had a death mask made of this director and kept it on her desk in Hollywood for her entire career in Hollywood. So imagine you walk in, there's just a dead guy's face staring at you. And then you ask her, and you're like, "Oh, who's the dead guy?" She goes, "Oh, it's my friend." And then just went back to smoking her cigarette out of that weird little holder she probably had.
Mein Freund.
Yeah, my friend. She's sending a message with that, I think. That's a good one here. Now, even weirder is this. This legit bothered me. Murnau dies and is buried back in Germany in 1931. So car accident, 1931. Now the guy's dead. His grave gets robbed, and his head is posthumously removed from his body. So they take his head off. Wax is found on the scene of the break-in, which they couldn't. They attributed as candle wax. This, along with other such instances that all took place in the same cemetery in Germany, which I looked it up. I couldn't come up with any other famous names that were buried there, but apparently the director of Nosferatu had his head removed after his grave was robbed. They took his head. The head is missing. To this day, they have not found it. And apparently the candles, the wax rather, came from candles. And they believe that it was an occult ceremony took place there. And that's why they removed his head. And they believe that there's some sort of a ritual or something that took place. So someone has the head of F.W. Murnau, the director of Nosferatu, and they're keeping it for whatever weird, creepy occult stuff. I'm actually a little nervous telling this story. I think we're all into, big titty goth girls. I think that's a fair thing to say. I think the movie The Craft had a big impact on me.
Rose McGowan would appreciate that.
Oh, yeah. Charmed, when that's on, by the way, this is how those girls keep their money for forever. All the bars in New York and New Jersey during basketball season will leave TNT on all of their all of their TVs rather. So every single day when I was working in the bar business, it's like a 4-hour block of just Rose McGowan cleavage just bouncing in your face as every episode of Charmed plays on loop for forever. So those chicks are still making bank. And if you watch Charmed without the sound on, it does look like it should be on the Spice Channel. It really doesn't feel that way. But so yeah, that very creepy thing, the occult ceremony, the removal of the head of the director of Nosferatu, who was, again, died in 1931. When do you want to guess the break-in took place? Kind of, if you go through the occult, there's like really an upswing in it, and maybe the 50s and the 60s. So he dies in the 30s. There's an upswing of kind of this occult type stuff or whatever, and then we should figure out when Charmed ended, because apparently this break-in, Linette, took place in 2015.
What?
Yep, you and I were alive while this happened. So, yeah, a little creepy. If anybody out there knows where F.W. Murnau's head is, leave it in the comment section, and let's just confirm it's actually his and not Mike Harrington's head. That's what we're looking for here, folks. This one was trippy. Little American one back for you.
Wait, but 2015, like, don't graves, like, cemeteries at this point have some CCTV? Like, nobody's monitoring this spot? Like, you just roll up with you and your hoodie friends and some candles. When
a bunch of kids straight out of a Hot Topic, and they're like, we have candles. We're here to dig up the head of Nosferatu.
I mean, shout out to those kids for using their candles and not their phone lights, but...
Ooh, you know what? That's a great point, actually. These kids they're old school. They're old school. They wanted the full impact of whatever that weird ritual was. But yeah, when Shannon from The Thing Is sees this, I'm sure she's going to have questions for me. Or she'll tell me, she'll be like, actually, it's in a bar in Staten Island. That's crazy. Back to the American part of this side of the story, folks. There are tons of examples of grave robbing from America. One of the most famous is, do you know where Geronimo's skull is? You might know this.
No.
No? All right, this one freaked me out a little bit. Geronimo's skull was reportedly stolen from his grave, and the rumor goes that it is currently on campus at Yale, right? I know you went to Fordham, so you went to good school with some Catholic values, right? But over at Yale, it is apparently Geronimo's skull is there, and it is used in rituals and rites conducted by a secret society known as Skull and Bones, folks. Skull and Bones. And this is my weird favorite fact that I tell everything. If you don't know what Skull and Bones is, essentially look at the roster of Skull and Bones throughout the year, and you'll see the heads of all the Fortune 500 companies, the head of Exxon, everything like that, a bunch of secretaries of state, bunch of vice presidents, and of course, in 2004, John Kerry ran against George W. Bush, right, in the 2004 presidential election, and the two of them were facing off against one another, and they were both members of this same secret society. So, pretty trippy. Doesn't make a whole lot of sense to me, but neither of them will talk about it. Also in this group, like I said, it's all the heads of state for different things, heads of companies, and then for some reason, Paul Giamatti. Can't figure it out, but yes, Paul Giamatti. It's next time you guys watch the movie Sideways or whatever the wine movie was. That's
literally the first thought I had.
It's his best movie. I love that movie. I don't even drink wine, and I like that movie. But yeah, his career's come pretty far for a guy who is also in Skull and Bones. Guaranteed, we're not going to be able to promote this episode because of that, but it is what it is. Good old Abe Lincoln. Did you know about this one? His grave got broken into after he died.
No, but I did learn a fun fact about him.
Hit me. What do you got? Abe Lincoln talk, folks.
This was great, and shout out to another veteran comedian, Noah Miller, for working this into his comedy set. I just heard it last night. Evidently, it took like 7 hours for Lincoln to die after he had been shot in the head in the 1860s, right? Like, yeah, you're thinking that should be instant. No. But apparently all the doctors and the like medical examiners and the reports were frequently commenting on the size of his arms. Like, his arms were enormous.
He was a swole dude. He was a wrestler, I think, right?
Yeah.
Wrestler, log splitter, lawyer.
And you're like, yeah, but also the bullet in his head. Like, guys, let's stay on task.
So they're distracted by that one.
And then really, truly credit all to Noah, because then he goes on to say, like, we all think of Lincoln as this upright dude who ended slavery, but he was kind of a pig. He was engaged to a different Mary before his wife, Mary.
Ah, right on, Mary Todd.
And a year goes by after he gets engaged to this chick, and he doesn't see her. And when he sees her again, she had evidently gained some weight.
Put a few on back in the day, right?
And he said that she must have been lying about her age because there's no way that a woman her age could have put on so much bulk in such a short amount of years.
You heard it here, folks. Abe Lincoln, real ass dude of the week. It's
But also kind of disappointing as one of our American heroes that he doesn't like a thick chick.
It's more evidence that Teddy Roosevelt is the best one we ever had, I think. The Lincoln's grave, by the way, Lincoln, very busy life. But after he passed away, his story's not entirely over here yet. In the 1870s, there was a counterfeiting ring that broke into his grave. Apparently, they were able to get the top of his coffin open before they were stopped. And I think Secret Service had a little shootout in the graveyard or something like that.
I was just about to say, that's actually the original intention of the Secret Service, was to prevent counterfeiting.
Yes, that's if you have not seen the movie To Live and Die in L.A., folks, that they make that very clear. In the opening scene, they're protecting some unnamed president, and in the rest of the movie, they're chasing a very I'm trying to think of the right word here for it. We'll call it a friend of Dorothy, if you know what I mean by that. And we use the old-time jargon on the show sometimes. A very homoerotic Willem Dafoe, who you're not sure if he's straight the whole time during the movie, but it's one of his best. So watch that movie. That explains the Secret Service to you in a nutshell, I think. Also, check out the Truman episode if you guys want to know more about them. That was a pretty good one. Originally wanted to have Linette on for that because she is Puerto Rican, but she wasn't available that day, folks.
Bye-bye.
We make it work.
Sorry. It's obligatory. It's like when you hear Puerto Rican, you have to go, like.
No, I understand. I do park my car near La Wazada. It's speaking of Lincoln had a very, very busy life. He faced a nation in very strange times, arguably our strangest, and it's very easy to overlook this, but during his time as POTUS, it's 1861 for the start of this story here, and he will name a fella that went by the name of John W. Dawson as the governor of the Utah Territory. Okay, so Utah will not become a state until about 30 years later. So at this time, he is the third governor of the Utah Territory, and I don't think the state was firmly defined with borders and stuff, but it's a weird time for Utah in general because the Mormons had a stronghold on Utah. They'd kind of made that their mecca, if you will. And John W. Dawson makes enemies real quickly. He makes it about 3 weeks out there as governor before some wild stuff goes down. I hear Mormons, I think Book of Mormon, I think South Park trashing them. I occasionally think of their NBA franchise, the Jazz, that's the funniest thing possible to name a city full of Mormons, the Jazz. That's about as funny as irony can allow to be, I suppose. But Dawson apparently makes a couple of remarks which go down as this is how they're described. I could not find out what he actually said, folks. Grossly inappropriate proposals to a Mormon widow. This is 3 weeks into his job as governor. He goes to a funeral, and I guess he makes a comment to the widow, and she was so offended by what Dawson said that this chick actually beat him with a fire shovel. So yes, hey, I'm the new governor here, by the way, and let me just say you look pretty good in that dress there, And your husband, I'm sure he's got other widows too. You guys do the bigamy thing. Why don't you come by my place? I have a hot tub in the governor's mansion. And she just cracks him in the face with a fire shovel, which is a little tiny shovel. But Mr. Dawson needs to get out of Dodge. So these are not the goofy white shirt, black tie, ringing your doorbell Mormons that I was thinking of. These are the rough and tumble. We're the Mormons. We've been chased out of absolutely every part of the country. And we routinely get massacred. And the United States government actually went to war with the Mormon religion. We did an episode on that as well, way back in the back catalog, which is available exclusively on Gas Digital, promo code LOSER, all right? He's got to get out of Dodge. This is literally the governor of the territory, and he's being chased out of town here. He gets on a stagecoach to try to escape. And this is what happens. These 7 guys chase him down, and they're going to teach the new governor some manners. They really didn't like whatever he said. I don't know what he said, but they really didn't like it. I imagine if you play Alec Baldwin's voicemails to his daughter, probably some of the same words are used in there. But also, Hilaria update, folks. Hilaria Baldwin update. Still following me on Instagram. So thank you, Hilaria. We appreciate you. Would you like to say
I think you
anything?
mean gracias.
Gracias. De nada. De nada. It's. I thought that was still the trippiest one. But Dawson is now. He's on the run, pretty much, in his own territory. You show up as the governor, and the people are bullying you out. Not really a great look over here. So he gets hidden out at a place, but these 7 guys find him, and they wind up laying on a beatdown. They are trashing his luggage. They're kicking him in the chest and the head. And apparently, one source confirmed this, but another one didn't. People who think I just make my stuff up, I don't. I'm not that creative. I do a little bit of reading. And I'm quiet, and my mom wouldn't buy me a Nintendo 64 when it was cool, so I started reading more, and now I'm like this. Apparently, they had plans to castrate the governor. That's how bad he offended this Mormon widow. So it's 7-on-1 here. They're beating down the new governor, and then gunshots ring out. To the rescue, the Salt Lake City Police Department here, folks. They're going to wind up getting involved. There is a shootout. There are 4 arrests that are made, but there are also 3 deaths via a gunfight with Salt Lake City's finest. So this event will take place, just for dating purposes here, January 16th, 1862. And this is where the story finally kicks off. So one of the dead bodies from the shootout goes unclaimed. So, what do you think happens if they don't claim the body back then?
He's mass grave.
Mass grave makes sense to me. Boot Hill was a thing that I always remember hearing. That was always in the Western movies I would watch. Oh, you're going to wind up in Boot Hill. They don't know who you are. They just bury you, and you're in the ground now, out of sight, out of mind. But this was interesting here because this lawman, and I couldn't prove if he was directly involved in the gunfight or if he was just a lawman as well, but he was a frontier lawman. This is a true life story here. Henry Heath is the guy's name. Great name. He should be a tight end for the Patriots with a name like that. But Henry Heath will actually, he feels morally obligated when no one claims this body. The body belongs to a guy by the name of Maroney Clausen. Okay, that's moron with an I at the end. Clausen, that's his name. He's the Salt Lake City lawman, Henry Heath, is trying to do a favor for Maroney, right? And a Mormon named Maroney is kind of funny too. But he does a kindness for him, and he says, all right, I'm going to pay for this guy's burial. And the undertaker says, all right, well, he's got to have a suit to get buried, and he probably has blood all over his clothes from the gunfight. It's probably holes in his suit. So he goes, all right, I'm going to buy him a suit too. And this is very important in the story here. Henry Heath buys a suit for the dead body to be put in. He then pays for the funeral, and no one attends the funeral because it's an unclaimed body, so he himself attends the funeral. He watches as the casket is closed. I don't know if you've ever done that at a funeral. That's it is a trippy feeling where you're like, all right, last chance to see this person. And it's a little bit of a heartbreaker, but I think this guy's doing a good thing. I would rank him as a good dude for this little act of kindness he's trying to show a guy he literally probably had to shoot himself. So I think there's some kindness involved with that. And a lot of respect shown is what I'm trying to get to. And this becomes crucial in the story here because Maroney's family eventually hears of his untimely end, and they request that his body be exhumed, which means dug up from the grave that he's in, and send it back to us here so we can bury him at a location of our choosing. Maroney's brother will soon confront lawman Henry Heath, who's involved in this thing. So, okay, yeah, well, we paid for it. We'll send your loved one's body back to you. And Henry Heath wants to know, he goes, hey, quick question for you. I know that my brother got involved with, trying to beat up the governor, and he was killed in a gunfight with the police, but did you really think it was necessary to bury him naked and face down, ass up in his coffin? It feels a little egregious to me. We're trying to find out why you did that. So, as I said, Henry Heath goes, whoa, dude. Not a chance. What are you talking about? I paid for the suit. I watched him get buried in the suit. I watched them close the casket and bury him. He was not like that when I found, which, by the way, as soon as you hear that a dead body is face down, ass up, what's your mind's going somewhere bad, right?
Yeah.
That's
a little, what was that charming Ted Bundy fella?
Little Ted Bundy on there. I thought it was, I always think of Buck from Kill Bill whenever you're like something like that too. You never saw Kill Bill? Years
ago.
Right on. It's worth a rewatch. But Maroney's family is horrified when they see this. Henry Heath is like saying, "This is insane. None of this is real. What's going on here?" He knows for a fact the man was buried with clothes on, and not for nothing, he'd even paid for it too. So we're both thinking in our heads that, all right, if the guy's buried naked, face down, ass up, something bad must be happening here, right? I don't know why our brains immediately go to that, but they do. And this doesn't help it either. Dom, I will buy you lunch for the duration of this show if you can tell me what you think is the proper name for a funeral caretaker. A funeral caretaker, there's a specific name for them, and I didn't know it either, and it bothers me. But if you get this right off the top, because Dom's good for information on that one too.
Oh, I got no idea. All I could think of is like a mortician, but
that would fit. I was going to say undertaker. I thought that, but apparently they just prep the bodies and get them on their way. They're the human traffickers of the underworld, if you will. But yeah, apparently the name is sexton. That's what they call it. A cemetery caretaker. Nothing, right? It's a cemetery caretaker is called a sexton. So if nothing else, folks, you learned that. Why open yourselves up to jokes like that, where you're like, oh, I hang out with dead bodies all day. I'm a sexton. You know what I mean? That's what I do. It's my gimmick. But a sexton, this guy, I don't even remember his name. He's not important to the story, but they meet with him first, right? Henry Heath goes over and meets with him. And the sexton goes, I have no idea what you're talking about. That's pretty trippy. Why don't we go talk to the only other guy that works here with me? He's the grave digger, and his name is Jean Baptiste. So here we go, folks. We finally got into the loser of the story here. Jean Baptiste's early life, very hard to figure. Is probably like I don't want to talk out of pocket here, and we can edit it out if we have to. Probably like Lynette's kids. You can't quite figure out what race they are. Little mixture of everything, right? It's German, Korean, Italian, Puerto Rican.
Yeah.
Everything.
All the things.
All the things. That's right.
All the things except like the Indian Peninsula and whatever's on Australia.
Oh, right on. See, whatever's on Australia. That's a wide. It's a pretty wide net. The Jean Baptiste is weird. It's very funny that you said Australia because there is proof that he spent time in Australia. Okay.
Like all good convicts.
It makes sense, right? And apparently this is where he learned a little bit of his trade that we're about to get into. Some reports say that he was from Venice originally. Someone said that he tried to pretend to be Irish, but his name is Jean Baptiste, right? So you really can't figure him all out. Did absolutely spend time in Australia over here. But for this story, the most important detail is that he, like Dom, was a member of the Church of Latter-day Saints, and he moved, because he was a part of the Mormon faith, moved to their version of Mecca, which is Salt Lake City, and that's where he became a grave digger for very many years for Salt Lake City. So it is suspected that Jean Baptiste had robbed the grave of Moroni Clausen and stolen the suit, right? Must have been a decent suit, you know what I mean? That's a terrible crime in and of itself. But what they began uncovering, I made a typo, that's my fault. Jean Baptiste at first isn't copping to anything. And then when they push him a little bit more and they're like, hey, can we look inside your house? He goes, yeah, sure. What do you need? And he's got boxes and boxes he had 12 pairs of men's boots, 60 pairs of little kids' shoes, young infant clothing, right? And then probably some other, I'm sure he was hiding the more valuable stuff, but it almost seemed like he was just a beyond the pale kind of hoarder type thing, where he's a post-mortem hoarder.
Well, it's not like they had Facebook Marketplace.
That's a lightly used infant outfit. It was part of the Lindbergh baby. But yeah, 60 pairs of children's shoes. That's creepy in and of itself. A dozen pair of work boots, countless articles of clothing, and these are all found to have been robbed from graves that were dug by and then exhumed by Jean Baptiste. So he realizes he's caught now, and Henry Heath is going like, I'm losing my mind here. I try to do a nice thing for a guy. I find a dead body buried with his face down, ass up. Now I'm investigating this. You're telling me you robbed his grave, so you stole a suit that I bought. Now you're telling me you've been robbing graves here. He goes, how many graves did you rob? He's pretty much got him at gunpoint right now. And Jean Baptiste is like, I'll tell you anything you want to know. He goes, all right, starts pointing to graves. He goes, did you rob that one? Yes. Did you rob that one? No. Did you rob that one? Yes. He's all of a sudden, numbers are starting to add up over here. In totality, 300 graves over 3.5 years of this post-mortem crime spree that Jean Baptiste is going on. Now, let's say you're investigating this and you're finding this out, just put yourself in Henry Heath's shoes for a second, Linette. You're a disciplined person. You have a military background. Are you just going into total shock at this point, or what are you doing if you're Henry Heath?
I mean, those are staggering numbers. I mean, I'd be shocked that he was able to move that much supply, all those goods, undetected.
Right. Yep. Well, I mean, no one's going to spend time in a cemetery after dark, I suppose. So he had a night job. He had a night job.
I know, but what do you do with the stuff after? I know there was.
Is it a creepy collector thing, or is it you know what I mean? Is he up to truly no good, and there's even more to the story, and they just didn't know to think that way back then, or?
Or he's running a secondhand shop of.
That's right. Come on down to Jean Baptiste's
vintage
store. Yeah, he needed some hipsters. That's what it was. Hipsters would have gone in there and be like, yeah, I got this from Jean Baptiste. It's great. I love it. It's excellent. If I'm this guy, I'm losing my mind just at the crime on that one. But this is where, and I wanted to mention that you were a mom on the show here because your mama bear is going to come out on this one. So Henry Heath is pointing to different graves, and Jean Baptiste is admitting to hundreds of grave robberies now. And he's an open book because he knows he's caught. Again, probably this rugged, he's a Mormon, but he's still a badass frontier lawman. And all of a sudden it clicks in Henry Heath's head and he goes, shit, my daughter is buried in the cemetery. And so I don't know if he says anything to him to indicate one way or the other, but he marches Jean Baptiste's ass right over to his daughter's grave. And he points to the grave and he goes, did you rob this grave? And Jean Baptiste says no. And because he'd been admitting to so many other crimes, I guess he believed, he goes, all right, well, he didn't rob my daughter's grave. Henry Heath is on record saying afterwards, he goes, if he had robbed that grave, I was blowing his head off right there. And I feel like you would have done the same, right?
Facts.
Yeah, I told you, her mama bear was going to come out. So he winds up, after this panicked moment of thinking that his daughter's grave might have been disrupted here, he winds up going, all right, well, you're under arrest, 100%. You're going to get to keep your life because you didn't rob that one grave in particular. But, I don't even know if Jean Baptiste knew who he was looking at that point. So the investigation gets wild in a hurry. Baptiste admits to all of his crimes and becomes public enemy number 1 in Salt Lake City. Brigham Young, who is the current head of the Mormon religion at this time here, he's pretty much running Salt Lake City. He's like a kingpin almost. He'll even say that a death sentence or life in prison is not a satisfactory end for Jean Baptiste. Something worse should happen to him. If you were going to be the judge on this, because by the way, grave robbing not a capital offense. You can't get rid of them. You can't unalive them. I hate it. I hate YouTube sometimes. I love it, but I hate it. So, what would your sentence be if you found out that someone had robbed 300 graves, all in your own community? Keep in mind, these people all live together. They all go to the same church. You know that, okay? There's no little, Jewish temple out in Salt Lake City. I'm sure there is now, but not back then. They're all going to wind up going to the same church. They all know each other. They're all buried in the same cemetery. So you find out this guy was digging up the community's relatives. What's a proper sentence for something like that?
I mean, I Googled it, so I do know what happens, but what I would have done was made him continue to dig graves unpaid in harsh, horrific conditions.
Slave labor. Okay.
Yeah.
See, right on. I get that one.
And before we get to it, I love. Oh no, carry on.
Jump in whenever you have some. You know the rules here. So they have to come up with an idea of what they're going to do with this guy. And Brigham Young is doing sermons pretty much calling for him to burn in hell for forever. And the Mormons, you saw what they did to a governor who said something they didn't like to a widow. Imagine what they're possibly capable of here to a guy that's ruined the entire community. He's pretty much, he's the Grinch. He's the Grinch. They don't want anything to do with him. He's not safe if he's around them. He has to stay far, far away. So that's what their idea goes towards. Heath's investigation is now full-on protection mode here because you're not going to, you're not going to take mob justice into your own hands on this one. They want Baptiste's head on a platter because the crimes, again, affected every single person in the community, which leads us to Fremont Island, folks. I did not know this. Dom, who grew up in Salt Lake City, told me this earlier. He said that there's actually a couple of islands in the Great Salt Lake. Did you know that? Because I didn't.
No.
When you were in Utah, did you get to see the Salt Lake?
No, I was just skiing.
Just skiing. Right on. Probably did it right on that. I would like to see the Great... When I used to play Oregon Trail, it was Oregon Trail 2, by the way, folks. I would always just try to make it to Salt Lake City. Because if you try to make it all the way out to the Pacific, more bad things can happen, and you want to win that game. It's a very tough game to win. I've died of tuberculosis on that game countless times. And then I realized every time I was going out there, I would go with, my dad was like, "Oh, you made it to Salt Lake City, so I guess you're a Mormon or a Brigham Young or something like that now, right?" And I always thought it was a compliment. And my dad was kind of being, it was this classic blue collar Jersey guy, like, "Oh, a little Mormon family over here. Okay, I guess that's what you're gonna do." And I thought Steve Young was so cool. A lot of people don't know that Steve Young, the 49ers Super Bowl winning quarterback, was actually a descendant of Brigham Young.
Oh, I didn't know that.
Yeah, that's 100%. And Brett Favre, you know, he's descended from. I don't know, but he sent his dick in a picture to Jen Sturger. That was pretty wild. That's Side note, too, by the way, Jen Sturger, this is where my tism kicks in. Jen Sturger was also 1/3 of the FSU Cowgirls. Jorge, you knew that, I feel like. You'd... No? FSU Cowgirls, I'll have Carly put it in here in post. 3 very, very attractive college girls that would dress in Daisy Dukes and cowgirl hats and cowgirl boots for FSU, the Florida State Seminole games. And they became, like, fixtures on camera. So one of those girls is Jen Sturger, who Brett Favre sent a very inappropriate text to. Another girl is Lana from WWE. And then a third girl is actually Shannon, who works on Gas Digital now. So that's 100% true story, guys. Shannon was one of the FSU Cowgirls. But they're calling for this guy's head. You got to protect Jean Baptiste. Now you got to get him onto Fremont Island. And so what I was trying to figure out, and I don't know yet, was this a cruel punishment, like you were saying about let's do like a slave labor camp thing? Or is this a practical protection effort where, like, hey, we got this island out here called Fremont Island, which, by the way, if you guys don't know, John C. Fremont is he was the first European. Him and Kit Carson went out there, 2 American frontiersmen. They made it all the way to Salt Lake City. They were like the first Europeans to make it out there, I believe. They went to Fremont Island. They thought the island was going to be paradise. Literally in Fremont's journal, he writes about it. He goes, "I think we finally found paradise here. We're going to call it Paradise Island when we get out there and look at it." He gets out onto the island, and he just goes, "All right, there's no game. There's very little growing here. This is he named it Disappointment Island. And then, I guess to be sarcastic, they named it Fremont Island after that. So it's like a class. We always say that on American Loser, too. If they name it after you, it's either a compliment or an insult, and sometimes it's both. But they wind up banning, or exiling is the right word, right? Jean Baptiste gets exiled to Fremont Island here, which is just north of Salt Lake City. It's well stocked with food, and it's certainly livable, but it's unquestionably isolated. So that's what's going to happen out here. Jean Baptiste there's a ton of weird rumors that went around this too. Someone said that they either tattooed or burned, like branded, grave robber onto his forehead before they sent him. That appears to be false. Someone said that they cut part of his tongue out so that he would know, oh, that's Jean Baptiste. Don't even let him try to defend himself or tell you another lie or anything. So there was no real... The Salt Lake City Police Department will not admit to any wrongdoing with this. They won't even admit that he was shackled. They won't say that. They said that he was not shackled. So he's free to roam on this island as long as he stays on the island. Which, I don't know, you're an outdoorsy chick. It's, it's fun walking around an island for a little while, but eventually you're going to get bored, right?
Yeah.
How long could you go without human contact, you think?
If my life were in a happy place... Maybe 3 days. If I was in a shit mood, probably a month.
A month, right on. Okay, I respect that. That was kind of me for, we don't call it the thing here. We call it the Spanish flu on this show, if you know what I mean, just for the YouTube. But yeah, during the Spanish flu, it was just me and my bulldog for about 3 months. And the best part of being blackout drunk during the Spanish flu epidemic was whenever you woke up, you could just pick up on the movie wherever it left off. So that's what I did. I think I watched Aliens 13 times during the first 2 weeks of the Spanish flu. They do ban the guy. He's out there now, Jean Baptiste. Again, the mutilation of him, if you will, is not real. Everyone's kind of agreed that didn't happen. It's urban legend stuff. But there is some people that are still arguing whether or not he was shackled. That's the key. So here's where it winds up coming down to it. There's two brothers that have a fishing shack on the island, and they also keep some cows out there on the island because, who's going to steal your cow? You have to have a boat to pull off the robbery. Someone's going to see you. So they're keeping some cattle out on the island, and they have a fishing shack, and these two brothers, I think they're called the Miller brothers, they go out there all the time, and they're on the island. Now, this would be creepy. This is a scene right out of a horror movie. It's just two brothers fishing, and there's just a creepy-looking Venetian guy standing up in the corner. And you're like, I thought this island was uninhabited. And they're like, well, that's the man of Fremont Island, grave digging Jean Baptiste. And then the stories are just kind of perpetuate here. But they see him about 2 weeks after he was exiled. So he's right in that middle sweet spot. You said a couple of days if you were happy, a month if you're unhappy. He's probably losing his mind, all right? So Jean Baptiste is seen but not interacted with. And then a couple weeks more go by, and these two brothers go out to their fishing shack, and Jean Baptiste has vanished. They have no idea where he is. He's gone, folks. No clue, no trace, anything like that. Did you find out what the only evidence that they found of him was? Because I know you read a little bit about this.
No.
Okay. I'm trying to set you up for success, Linette. Anytime you want to jump in. I feel like you have something I'm excited to hear.
No.
Nothing?
I have a little anecdote.
I love this then. Okay, we're going to set her up for success after. The fishing shack is beat up a little bit. There's chunks of it missing. And then there's one cow that gets slaughtered. And what they surmise happened is that Jean Baptiste slaughtered the cow and then tried to tan its hide, kind of turn it into leather type thing, and then use parts of the fishing shack to make a crude raft. And he went full Escape from Alcatraz. If you guys don't know that story, that's one of my favorite episodes we've ever done. Back catalog, all right? Gas Digital, that's the only place we're going to have the back catalog guys up. So they believe that Jean Baptiste made this crude raft and then sailed the Great Salt Lake in an attempt to get back to humanity. So massive manhunt breaks out. They're looking for this guy. All of Salt Lake City wants him gone. Now you find out that the punishment, where a lot of people thought he got off easy, now he's even skating from that one. You're like, okay, we're going to take it into our... As soon as this guy's... It's on site, as the kids would say, right? It's on site if you find this guy. Nobody ever finds him. He's missing. Can't find anything about him. So what gets even creepier here is, did he escape? No body's ever found, by the way. They find a body, I guess, about 20 years later in the lake, and it was... I didn't know this, too. It was actually in the river. They named the river the Jordan River out there. That's how biblical the Mormons are, that the River Jordan runs through Salt Lake City. Don't know if you guys knew that. But anyway, they find this body in the Jordan River, I guess 20 or 30 years after the disappearance, and the newspapers all say, it has to be Jean Baptiste because he was shackled, right? Because they found his skeleton, and then on there was also chains and irons. And they said, okay, awesome, so we found him, right? And then the Salt Lake City Police Department goes, we didn't shackle him. So are they lying to cover their ass on this one? Which we know, unfortunately, police work is a tough gig, but we know there's a lot of stuff that doesn't get put on official reports sometimes. Or are they telling the truth and Jean Baptiste was not shackled, which then asks the bigger question, so whose dead body did we just find? We have answers to neither of these questions. I like to try to give facts on this stuff if I can, but there's no known facts about this one. They do say, though, however, I thought this was interesting, is that Native Americans that lived out in that area, whenever they would go out to the island, nobody ever camped out there overnight. They believed there was evil spirits on the island. Now, that's going to fuel all sorts of urban legends about this very creepy character to begin with. So there's some people that say that the spirits took him. There's other people that say that he's still out there. There are ghost sightings of grave digging Jean Baptiste to this day. Carly will probably pull up a couple of the photos of them to put up in here as well. It's very creepy, but they cannot solve this. So he has gone from an unsolved mystery, if you will, now into full-on urban legend. It's about as creepy as it goes. And the story, again, I was reading about the guy and like, oh, Jean Baptiste. I was like, oh, cool, must be like some sort of a French archduke or something like that. And they're like, no, grave robber out in Mormon territory. I was like, well, tell me more. And now I'm learning about the attack of the governor, all this other crazy stuff here. But this guy's part of, I don't want to say it's on the same level as, we're both Jersey kids, so it's Jersey Devil. I grew up with a lot of great stories about that, and those stories take on a life of their own. Again, there's still people fighting in the comment section on my last Instagram post about that. But people go nuts about that one, and I think there are people that enjoy the ghost story of Jean Baptiste out in Salt Lake City. So if I do ever get out there, I want to go.
Evidently, you have to go during Halloween.
Halloween would be a good one on that one, but you have an anecdote that I've been very excited to hear about.
I do. So many moons ago, when I used to work at the New York City Department of Education, wonderful employees.
She got fired, folks. Continue.
Yes, by getting pregnant.
From a student? What the?
Oh my gosh, no. Well, who was that woman?
Riley Reid. Got it. Go.
No. No, they end up getting married after she gets out of prison.
That's true love, folks. All
Yeah.
right? That's. But I totally destroyed your story here.
No.
New York Department of Education. Go.
I'll never forget it. I worked at the Board of Ed. So I worked with a bunch of people with like PhDs and lawyers and brilliant minded people who genuinely wanted to do what was best for children. So I would say that they were a little more compassionate than the recently released from the Army 2-time war veteran when they posed a question to me. Linette, you live in a community, let's say like a frontier community, where everyone depends on everyone for survival and community. And
Sounds pretty commie to me, right?
Yes, and so someone commits a crime. Do you exile that person or try to rehabilitate them?
This is a trick question.
I, of course, said, oh, you exile them.
Exile.
You send them into certain death.
Make the bad man fly.
And they were horrified. And I was like, oh, is that the wrong answer? You mean you don't get the death sentence for...
It's a dance. It's a dance to figure out the answer. And by the way, that's a trap question no matter what. So there was no right answer for that. We could rehabilitate them. And they're like, oh, cool, listen, here's a ton of folders you have to work on for troublesome students. You're going to help rehabilitate, since you believe in all that, you know? So I think they set you up for failure on that one.
But it reminded me of this story where you have this guy committing heinous, weird crimes to dead bodies for... who knows what purpose, whether it was for profit or just out of hoarding or whatever.
Search Sam Kinnison's Closer, and you guys will know exactly what we're alluding to without us saying it.
Or do you exile him to an island where he will probably die?
Well, we don't know, because we don't know. Did he die on the island? Did he escape? Did evil spirits capture him? Is his ghost still haunting there? Or somebody said he probably made it out and then, found a way to come up with like a new name or something like that. Because again, Jean Baptiste, pretty good name. But they don't know what actually happened to the guy. Some people say he made it to a mining community and then he was working down in the mines, which that's a slow death to begin with. Did he make it out? Or even creepier, folks, did he make it out, go find himself another town, go convert to another religion, do whatever he had to do to earn the trust of the locals, and go right back to what he was doing in Australia before he made it to Salt Lake City, and get back to some good old-fashioned grave robbing. So, Linette, do me a favor, plug your socials one more time, will you?
Instagram at Linette_Palladino. That's pretty much the only ones I got.
Please keep up with that. Any opportunity to go see her live, go do it, folks. I want to say thank you so much to Jorge and to Dom. Dom, I hope that the church elders approve of this episode and that you will not be getting a strongly worded email about it.
I'm praying.
You're praying. Thank you for praying, sir. While we're praying, prayers up for Mike Harrington. Buddy, if you're out there and you can hear me, we miss you. We want you back. But like another 72 hours tops, we're just going to have Jorge take the show over. Okay? So, and by the show, I mean everything you do here. Producer of American Loser, Alex is probably going to wind up raising the child with Jorge, I believe. I think that's safe to say.
Hip hip.
Hip. We're going to have to find a way to make this work. So, folks, if you've seen Mike Harrington, let me know where he is in the comments section. And I want to say thank you again to my guest, Linette Palladino. For me, guys, it's at KP Burke Sucks over on Instagram. This show's my passion project, so come help us out here, man. We're having a lot of fun every week. I'm learning new weird stuff, and then I try to teach you guys. And then every now and then I get called gay in the comments. But what are you going to do, folks, all right? That was Jean Baptiste, American Loser.
On the edge they take the throne, built on bones of those unknown. Counted first, never last, still erased from the past.